I'm on one of them. Hello, everybody. I'm really sorry. I am still getting used to this. I haven't used Firefox apart from last week for many years. It's taking a little bit of getting used to streaming, but I've heard that happens to other people as well. So, next one, I'll be here on time. I was here. I just couldn't find the button that says that your microphone and my microphone and camera could be used by Firefox, but I found it in the end. And now I am here. Hello, everybody. Apparently, I'm very quiet again. Let's leave my top button up. Sorry to everyone who's moved from one stream to another. I won't go anywhere, I promise. I'm here now. There was a question that somebody asked at the end of the last stream that we didn't cover, so I shall just cover that one quickly now. I can't remember who it was, but they asked me how I do all my research for different videos. And the answer to that is it depends on the topic. If it's something I have a basic background knowledge on, I will make a quick, rough outline of what I'm going to do and in what order. Then I'll read up on the topic again just to make sure that either nothing's changed or that what I thought I knew wasn't wrong. I usually, I'll Google. A lot of us are members of several like paywalled newspapers and like sorry, I can't think of the word, encyclopedia sites and stuff like that. So we have quite a bit of access that doesn't doesn't always come up on Google. And obviously YouTube as well is a good resource as long as you're careful and check the sources from those video sources. If it's something I know nothing about, then obviously the process is pretty much the same, but I don't write a rough plan at the beginning. I just start from fully researching everything. I'm not great at taking notes. I never have been. I should get better at that because it would probably speed the process up a lot. But yeah, I hope that answered whomever asked. Again, I have my wife in my ear reading questions from the screen. So I shall now ask her if there are any questions so far. Sophie V, do we choose the subjects for our scripts or does Simon let us know what he wants us to write about? That depends. He uses an app called Trello where he will post ideas for things he wants covered, but you can also submit your own and he will take a look and approve or deny. So there's always a list to choose from, but if you want to put forward a suggestion of your own, then you're more than welcome to do so. Nikki OGBB, excellent. Brainblaze legend. Have I considered making more blind cooking shows with the other person blindfolded? yes, Julian will be doing one with me at some point. We've got a few changes going over on at Pints and Ports at the moment. So once we've got all those sorted, we will be doing one definitely, and anyone else I can convince to do it. So yeah, it will be an ongoing thing. It's just a case of finding people to do it and getting them recorded. Sailors, I believe you were here last week asking some questions. Can you repeat the question for me? Which script did I go the furthest for, physically or mentally? Mentally, either the Feral Child script, which I spoke to Simon about this week, and that will be coming back. So keep an eye out for it on Into the Shadows, or the Dunblane and Hungerford script, which was just horrendous. I don't think I even watched the video all the way through when it came out. It was really, really hard work. As for actual effort put in, that script isn't out yet, but I think I can say this. It's about a guy called Kevin Mitnick, and I've probably been running on it for 8 months now, and I've reached out to people who worked with him, people who worked against him. I've got hours and hours and hours of interviews I've recorded and done with people all over the world. It really, really is going to be a big project. And that will... Sailor Z, sorry, I've just been informed. That will be coming out on Decoding the Unknown, probably towards the end of the summer. Spirit Wolf says, yes. Sorry, my wife's just saying we need a signal. I need a way of letting her know that I've finished speaking, because there's a little bit of a delay and it gets confusing. So Spirit Wolf says, don't know if I covered it last time, but basically, did I follow hair trends growing up? Until I was about 13 or 14, I had very, very short hair, sort of a grade 3 or 4. But I had just started playing in a band out in pubs and clubs and things, a metal band, and I'd always wanted to grow my hair out. But I did a food technology GCSE, and if you had long hair for that, when you were doing a practical lesson, you had to wear a hairnet, and I didn't want to wear a hairnet. So I waited till the end or halfway through year 11, my last year in school, to start growing it. But not for any, well, I had always wanted to grow it out at school and had never done it. I wouldn't say I was particularly influenced to do it by any particular trend. And it's basically been the same since then. I've had it cut and trimmed up a few times, but it's either up or down. Snowsnake 666 says, two-part question. Would I consider taking a viewer onto... Would I let viewers, members participate in the blindfolded cooking? Potentially. Oh, by the way, if any of you guys remember the Swiss Army pen that was covered in a Brainblaze video and in one of my videos as well, I actually have one, a brand new boxed one that my wife and I will decide whoever asks the best question, and that will be the prize that we will send out at the end of this. I meant to do it last week, but the whole thing fell apart, as I'm sure you remember. But potentially, yes, I'm looking at perhaps doing a members section. I wanted to ask everybody here actually if that would be something people might be interested in. I was going to trial a couple of scripts that I wrote myself and read out, sort of semi-Simon style. We'll put some more uncut versions of the shows that we do and a few other ideas that I'm still working out in my head. But yes, I would potentially consider having a viewer come on and do an episode of not Pints and Ports, sorry, the Blind Cookery Show. And I guess I would probably do it. I'd probably pick somebody, obviously somebody who was a member, and do it as a sort of celebration thing for maybe 5,000 subscribers or that sort of thing, or a certain amount of members subscribed. So yeah, when we decide more on how we're going to do that, I'll make some sort of announcement somewhere. Starfishes! Starfishes rule. Greg Salthouse. This is my uncle. Okay. Uncle Greg, who's Greg Salthouse on here, my uncle, says that he prefers analog media. And is there anything that I like that's analog? Vinyl. I'm still I don't get the vinyls out very often. Bingo encourages me to do so from time to time. But yeah, I'm still very much a vinyl fan. And I'm convincing Bingo to do their amateur radio license, which is something I was really into in my early to late teens, and I'm trying to get back into now. So I guess that counts as analog. I mean, there are digital aspects within it, but I don't use them. So hope that helps, Uncle. Oh, and how do I always look younger? I don't know. Clean living. I won't, unfortunately, Sailor Z, I won't do a Discord. I don't have any objections to doing something similar somewhere else, maybe a Reddit. But Discord is such hard work for anybody trying to use a screen reader. It just wouldn't be worth the time for me to do it. But I will at some point do a Reddit group or something like that. Okay. Jodie Crosby, looks like you're auditioning to be the new Pope with the light behind you. I don't think they'd let me be the Pope. Might be fun. Yeah. Might be fun, but no. Hardcore atheists, probably not best Pope material. CBDY135 says, what's my favorite beer and why is it Budweiser? It is not Budweiser. No one's favorite beer should be Budweiser. Come on. Apart from, I've just been reminded, my wife's favorite beer, but she doesn't really like beer. So I suppose that's an answer to that. I think favorites would be the old HSB, which was Horndean Special Brew, because they made it just down the road from where I grew up, and yeah, it was rather nice. I'm probably more of a cider drinker. In fact, I've always been more of a cider drinker, and my favorite cider ever was called Lazy Lob, and it's available from the Cider Barn on the Isle of Wight. If you're ever there, I highly recommend it. They're not anymore. Not a ninja, back from last week. Experience schizophrenia. Is it true that blind people cannot or do not experience schizophrenia? I don't know. I've read this. I don't think it's true because I have / had a blind friend who I'm fairly sure had schizophrenia. My wife's telling me it's not true, and she has a far greater medical background than I do. But yeah, she's telling me that it's more to do with hallucinations and things. If you're born, nobody born blind has been diagnosed with schizophrenia and being updated. But if you go blind later, then it's something you can get. See, I don't think so. I don't think it's true, but I would have to look more. But I've been updated with a quick search in my ear, and that seems to be the case. If you were born blind, then you can't be, or nobody has yet been diagnosed with schizophrenia. Surface level search. Next question from Chris Stanford. Do I play any musical instruments? I do. I play the drums. I own a few guitars. I can play a few bits on guitar. I can play a little bit of keyboard, really a little bit. I'm fairly proficient at the didgeridoo, although I haven't had one around for a while. They're all still at my mother's. Tabla, I can play. That's about it. Mostly drums, though. Sailor Z again. Are there any tools or technologies that have made a big difference in my research? Yes. A lot of AI image recognition stuff has been incredibly helpful, because when you go into deeper research, a lot of the stuff online is just photographs or scans of archive papers and things like that. And until decent image recognition software came along, that was very, very difficult to get the information from. And now it's just a case of copying a URL or a screenshot into an app, and then within 5 or 10 seconds, I have a complete text version. So yeah, and any image recognition software has been hugely beneficial. Nikki OGBB says, I feel like this was covered in a script, but how did you meet your wife? Don't think I've covered it in a script. We might have talked about it on one of the Brainblaze live streams, maybe. But we were actually introduced over Skype by a mutual friend, and we got chatting, and then she came down to see me, and I'm being told to tell the story properly, but I'm not sure. Bear with me for a moment. What? I see. When we first met, I had not long come back from the pub, and she was talking. I was trying to be heard in the group, heard by her, so I whistled, which got her attention, and she tells me that she spent an hour telling me off, but I maintain that, and I don't condone this behaviour by any means, but I do maintain that it worked because we're now married, so I win. Okay. On one of our first outings together, not the first, but one of the first, we went for a walk around a local mill pond, and she walked me into a lamppost in front of quite a few people. They were concerned, and she laughed a lot. So Sailor Z, what's something ridiculous that's happened to you that I still laugh about? Oh, I could probably write a book, and maybe will do one day. So many ridiculous things have happened to me, and now I'm going to struggle to think of one that's good, because that's how life works. I can tell you a ridiculous thing that I did because I was bored. Some friends and I were traveling in a car. There's me, another friend who has a guide dog, and the driver, and we stopped outside, I believe it was B&Q, to pick something up, and my friend who had the guide dog went into B&Q with the driver to get something, and I stayed outside with the dog. I was a smoker at the time, so I had a cigarette, and they were taking ages, so I was bored. So I walked around to the back of the car just as somebody was passing, and I had the guide dog on the harness next to me, and I said, "Excuse me, can you read the number plate on this car for me, please?" And he stopped and read it, and I said, "Oh, thank you. This is my car." And I walked down the side and opened the driver's side door and got in. But the person sort of walked off, and then 5 or 6 steps away, twigged what had happened, and it's like, "Hey, hang on a minute, what's going on?" That was quite funny. Most ridiculous thing, though. My wife's telling me I didn't make it clear that I was going to drive the car, but well, that was, yes, I was going to drive the car, but who said that? Sorry, I'm not sure I heard that even then. Papa, yes, Papa Nurgle said, "What gave me the courage to contact Simon? Did I? What was the other bit? Sorry. Did I ever think it would lead me here, and how did I feel about it? I covered this in the last one, so I won't take too long on it, but I contacted Simon originally because I'd made some cookery videos and published them, and I just contacted a bunch of YouTubers and asked them for feedback, and he was the only one who got back to me. As later that he oh yeah, him and Sorted Foods, who I think are probably still going. But if they are, I don't watch them for no reason. You know, I have nothing against them. It's just you move on and don't have as much time. But yeah, later he offered me the opportunity to write something. So I guess the courage to reach out just came from I reached out to a lot of people. I wouldn't say it was a particularly brave thing. It was very, very much luck that I ended up doing the writing, and well, no, I had no idea it would end up where it has done now, but I'm very grateful that it did. CBDY135 again says, are there any gaming systems that are accessible for blind people? Not exclusively, like there isn't a blind specific console that I'm aware of. Some of the obviously there are games that are. I think the first game that I played that was roughly accessible was Revenge of the Sith for Mysteries of the Sith. It's an old PC game. I think it came out in about 1995, which you could play if you wore headphones and had a stereo sound card. You could just about get by on that. But I know I used to play Wii Sports a lot. You can play that just by listening. It's like tennis and bowling. You can do a certain amount of clicks on the arrows, and you can play a lot of that by sound. But there's no specific console. There are a few games now that the Xbox and the PlayStation have screen reader software built in. I know there are a few games that are very accessible. I haven't gotten around to playing them yet. I did do a video about a blind specific game, which I started playing. I did a video about that on the channel. That was quite fun. Maybe I'll finish that one day. But yes. So Ducking Retro, who is Mark from Only in the UK. Hello, Mark. The Pickybot testing. I'll have to catch people up. There's an app. Oh yeah, some of you will know about it because I did a video about that and with the creator. But Pickybot is one of a group of apps where you can take a picture and it will describe that picture to you. It will also, if you provide it with a video, it will automatically audio describe that video and put the soundtrack in behind it, which is a very, very useful feature. But I've been working with Martin, who's the guy who developed it, doing some testing on the side. And yeah, it's been going very well. Thank you, Mike. Cousin George. My cousin George. Cousin George, who I'm sure most of you will know as the Cousin George from the Australian Brain Blaze script, says, I'd love to hear about your experiences riding motorcycles, how that happened, and what was it like? I've ridden quite a few motorcycles over the years, mostly just through having friends who trusted me, were / insane enough to let me ride them. But I think the first time was out on a back road in Chichester somewhere, where my friend Alan basically just pulled the bike over to the side of the road, got on the back, said, "You get on the front," and told me what to do, and I did it. But it's incredible. I would have, had I not grown up and become responsible, gone for the blind motorbike land speed record. It was something I was planning to do in my early 20s. But I was waiting. Sounds terrible, but I was waiting for the guy who had it, who had the record, is an elderly gentleman. I was waiting for him to pass away because I didn't want to take it from him because I really liked him. Somewhere in between waiting for him to pass away and getting the opportunity to do it, life moved on, and now I won't. Next question. Hi, George. Roberto Toledo. We'll stick with you'll know who you are, Roberto Toledo. There's not going to be another one, surely. How did I stop drinking after all those years in the pub? I didn't. I still drink occasionally. I drink maybe 4 or 5 times a year properly. I might have a beer if we go out for a meal or something, but I usually don't. I don't know. I used to drink a lot, as I've mentioned before, but I was running a pub. It was there. It was available. It was cheap. Everyone else around me was drinking. But when I met my wife, she didn't drink much at all. Just at Christmas, she didn't have a spritzer on Christmas Day. And then when I moved in with her, I've never enjoyed drinking on my own. So I just didn't. And stopped. I would go out occasionally because I moved up north where my wife lived. I'd go to the local occasionally, but yeah, the people around me who were drinking with me the most weren't so much directly in my life, and I just, as I said, I've never enjoyed drinking on my own. So it wasn't even really a conscious, I'm not going to drink anymore. It just kind of just happened to me. And, I still enjoy a drink every now and again, but it's, it's not a something I need to do anymore. Patrick Connaughton says, "Hi Dave, just joining in as somebody losing my vision. I look to you for inspiration." Wow. I mean, I don't know what condition you have or where you're at on the journey, but anything can be done. I started with the same amount of sight as I have now. I can't so I can't imagine what it would be like even to have had sight and lost it. But it's easy for me to sit here behind the screen and give advice, but don't let it drag you down. I've seen too many people lose their sight and then lose their quality of life because of it, and it doesn't need to be like that. There's so many people out there who can help you with the transition. There's a Facebook group that I can recommend. It's called British Blind Community. I'm on there. I'm an administrator and one of the original founders. There's a few thousand people on there now. People from all walks of life, all different experiences. But check it out, and if you can message me through there if you have any particular questions you'd like to ask me, not over a YouTube channel. And my wife has said if you'd like, she can hook you up with services as well, if you'd like that. But yeah, reach out to me through British Blind Community if you'd like to. Nikki OGBB again. Have I been to the US? I've been to Florida twice, yes. Disney, Florida both times. So yeah, I have. Yeah, sorry, my wife's telling me to tell you how horrible Orlando Airport is as a blind person. It wasn't great. The difference between UK airports and the accessibility teams and available stuff in the UK and America is stark, especially when you've been through so many helpful people in the UK, then spent 9 hours on a plane. You get off, you're exhausted. They've turned up the temperature 30 degrees from what it was at home. I don't know what that is in American degrees. Alexa, what's 30 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit?
30 degrees Celsius is 86 degrees Fahrenheit.
86 degrees Fahrenheit.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Okay, I finished with you now. Thank you. But yeah, they just, it was unbelievably unhelpful, and they just, we got off the plane and they were like, okay, bye, and just abandoned us. We had Bingo was very, very young then. Obviously had all our luggage and everything, and we were told we would be met, and we just weren't. So instead of getting the shuttle bus, we had to walk all the way up to the actual Disney pickup bus. It was horrendous, but Disney was fun. I'd maybe do that again one day. I'm just waiting for the next question. Jody Crosby says, do I have time for a frivolous hobby? I'm trying to get back into amateur radio again. That's fairly frivolous. I do a little bit of woodwork from time to time. I'm very sorry. Sorry about that. But unless I'm missing something and have a mental block on it, those are the things I waste time with the most. Not a ninja. Can you say that again for me? Aside from learned position. Okay, yeah, I understand now. Do I experience a sense of somebody or something being nearby? Yeah. I think I can usually tell if somebody is close by. My wife's telling me it's called proprioception. But I don't know if this is a thing for everyone, but if you close your eyes and go like that, if there is anybody blind watching, I'm sort of moving my hand around in front of my face, you can hear where that is. I think I can. Yeah, but my wife's saying that you can feel it because you know where your hand is, but if you get someone else to do that to you, I think you'd be able to hear where their hand is. And just like walking from place to place, if you listen to your footsteps, you'll hear. I mean, I'm by no means proficient at echolocation. There are people who are, or certainly who claim to be, but just as you walk around, listen to the way your footsteps change when you're approaching a wall, say, or when you enter a big open space, or so yeah, there's sort of some ways of navigating by sound, and yeah, I can usually tell if there's somebody nearby, but I couldn't necessarily explain how. So I hope that jumble of thoughts answered your question. Who's next? Chris Myers said they played a game a while back. Chris Mind says they played a game a while back where the main character was blind, so you couldn't see without echolocation. What was that game? If you could respond, let me know, and maybe I'll play it on the channel. Sailor Z says, if you could only listen to one album for the rest of your life, what would it be? This is hard. Because I go through stages of music. I'll listen to something until I'm utterly bored with it, and then not listen to it again for 5 years. I don't know. I think I could probably get by with the background music for the rest of my life being something by Disturbed, or maybe Blind Guardian, or Taiketo perhaps. But as to an actual album, I'm not sure. But they're probably one of those three bands. If I was stuck with one band's music forever, just because they all have something for every mood. Check out Taiketo, by the way. Nobody's ever heard of them, and they're amazing. Sophie V asked ages ago, but we missed it, we think. 1 second. You said last week that you don't like it when people touch or take your bat, but that's long cane. That's what we call it in our household. Why someone would do that? Sometimes people do it for like navigation, like if they're trying to lead you somewhere, or if they think you're going to walk into something, they'll grab that rather than you. But yeah, there's no need to do it. But yeah. My wife's saying people do it because they don't know how to deal with blind people, and it's a way of not physically touching the person. But personally, I'd rather somebody put their hand on my arm than grabbed my bat. But others wouldn't, and I think the most if you see a blind person out in the wild and they look like they might need assistance, just ask them. That they'll tell you that there are official ways of sighted guide, but not everybody uses them. If just ask, say something along the lines of how can I help you, or how best can I help you, and they'll tell you. Traditionally, if you're sighted guiding someone, they will hold your arm here just above the elbow and walk a step behind you. But as I said, that's not everybody does that. So you're really best just to ask. my wife and I hold hands, but again, I wouldn't recommend doing that with strangers in the street because it's a bit forward, you know. Patrick, surname? Patrick Connaughton says, "Do you have any I assume light perception?" He started out with some, but now has only a little left in his right eye. I have a little. I can see light and dark, basically. So I'm down as no useful vision, but I can see the difference between the sky during the day and the sky at night. If I'm walking down the street of a night time, I can pick out individual lampposts, usually. I did much prefer... sorry about the adverts, guys. I did much prefer the older style of street lights. For some reason, that was a light I could see better. But yes, I do have a little light perception in both eyes, Patrick. Spirit Wolf says, "What tracking camera am I using?" It's the Insta360 webcam. Well, I like it, and it seems to work well enough for videos. It's goes up to 4K, 60 frames per second. You can also, there's lots of hand gestures as well you can do. The software isn't hugely screen reader accessible, unless you're advanced screen reader user, but I won't do hand gestures now. But if you hold your hand flat up to, sorry, not flat up, like palm out to the left hand side of your face, it will freeze the camera on you. If you do sort of like the peace sign, it will track again. If you put your fist to your chest, it will focus on you specifically. And you can program a lot of global shortcut keys as well for Windows and Mac to make it to various profiles for whatever you need at any given time. So yeah, I would recommend it as a blind creator's camera. Antisocial asks, here's an easy one. What's your favorite pop? Coke, Dr. Pepsi? Dr. Pepsi? It's Dr. Pepsi, a blend of the two, I find. I'm quite bored. I mean, a favorite, I would say it would be cream soda, but I never buy it, partly out of shame, and no one else likes it. But I like any lemon-based fizz. I'll drink Coke and Pepsi. I don't have a Coke and Pepsi preference, really. But any lemonade I will drink. But my favorite, I think, would be cream soda or apple ties. It's a good hangover cure, apple ties. Yeah, and Tango, Tango apple, which is poor man's apple ties. Not a Ninja says, "Thank you to my wife. Please tell Dave that, no, don't worry. Your questions aren't intrusive. That's kind of why I'm doing this. I mean, it's fun to answer random questions, but if I can help anybody who has actual questions about blindness, you can ask them here, and I very much doubt you'd be able to offend me with blind related questions. So yeah, I'd like to think of myself as the blind question asking safe space. There are no stupid questions. The game, Chris Mine says the game. Okay, I'll check it out. If it's something Chris Mine said the game. Oh yes, the game is called Perception. That's the echolocation game we talked about a few minutes ago. I'll check it out. If it's something we can do on the channel, maybe I'll live stream a play of it, or certainly do a video of a play of it. See how I get on. Thank you. Next question. Okay, Mark said, hi again, Mark. Says, I have to admit, whilst since interacting with Dave, I've become more aware of the sounds around me. Cool. Keep it up. Okay. Starfishers want to know what the best thing about having a visual impairment is so they can help a kid at their school. Yeah, the fact that they want to help somebody, that's fantastic. I don't know. You get a lot of half price or free tickets when you go places, especially in the UK. I don't know if it's a thing in America, but if my wife and I want to go to a concert or a show or attraction or something, it's rare that you don't get one free ticket as a blind person or any kind of disability. You get to take a carer free with you. Yeah. I guess for someone in school, focusing on listening, focusing on being able to hear things is probably the best thing, that you do it automatically. Being able to listen into conversations on the other side of a room over the classroom chatter, that's pretty cool. You always know what the teachers are whispering to each other. Any game where you have to hear where the person has gone with a board with a bell in or something like that. But yeah, being able to hear, and actually, because I've done this before, but blind people can't actually hear usually any better than fully sighted people. It's just that we develop that sense of hearing through not having any other choice. So it's a thing that sighted people can do, but it's something that blind people don't have to try to do, or certainly if you were born with your visual impairment. But yeah, I would go for that, Starfishers. Who's next? Nikki OGBB again. Hi. Does my wife help? Does my wife help me keep my curls nice? Yes. Without my wife, my hair would probably be in some sort of dreadlocked mess. I know how to do it myself now, but I often don't. I did it today for this. I always try and get my hair presentable. Pardon me, sorry. If other people are going to see it, if I go outside or whatnot. But there's nothing wrong with using products. I have some sort of gel stuff in my hair that my wife bought for me and recommended, and just L'Oreal. Just show your boyfriend my glorious curls and tell him that he too could look like this. In fact, I accidentally used a face wash of my wife's instead of my L'Oreal gel because it's in a similar tube, and it was actually much more effective at bringing out my curls than any hair product I've ever used. So, link. That's the simple face wash, I'm being told. Yeah, you have to use it as a gel though. Lots of it. Rub it in. Beauty tips with Dave. Eh? Who'd have thought that? Turtle. Papa Nurgle again says sci-fi or fantasy. Sci-fi. I don't know actually. When I was younger, certainly sci-fi. I think I've read almost every of the original, what's now Star Wars Legends books. I've read literally everything that Douglas Adams ever wrote. But I like a bit of fantasy as well. But I think, yes, I think my heart is sci-fi still. Sailor Z. What question would you ask yourself? I have no idea. Sometimes I do ask myself, would I change anything from the past? And I always eventually end up at the same answer, and that's no, because I mean, there's stuff from my past that I regret doing, but if I hadn't done it, I wouldn't be here now. So that's what I'd ask, and that's what I'd say. Next question. Nicodemus Perez. If I say your name wrong, I'm really sorry, and that's that. We're doing our best. How was working at the pub? It was an incredible few years of my life. I wouldn't have changed it for anything. It's not something I would do now. If the opportunity arose, I wouldn't take it. It's a younger person's game, and it's very, I think, a single person's game. Some days I would be up at 5 and I wouldn't go to bed till 1, 2 o'clock the next day. It's exhausting, but it was a tremendous amount of fun. I got to do some really, really crazy stuff, and I met some fantastic people over the years. So yeah, I hope that Sailor Z again says, Megan, is there anything you'd want the world to know about Dave? Fortuitously, I can filter this. You can type it in the chat, yes. Okay. She said she'd like the world to know how kind I am and how much I look after her and Bingo, and that I leave my coffee in really annoying places. I can live with that. Did you want me to say that to you? Okay. Also, when I put something down and walk away, if I then forget about it, it's gone forever. So I have a fleeting attention span, which makes my job really hard. Phil H says, Phil H says, Dave, what's the silliest blind person question you've been asked? There is a whole video series that I did with Julian where we did Google autocomplete questions. How do blind people A through Z? If you're not aware of it, check it out, because every single question in that video is stupid. But I think how do blind people have sex is probably the most commonly stupidly asked question, because if you know how to do that, it's the same. I think perhaps the most ridiculous assumption was, I don't know if I've told this before actually, my friend Alan, who I was in band with, his brother once walked up to me. He was probably only 9 at the time, and he just poked me in the eye, which elicited the response you would get if you poked somebody in the eye. And he was like, well, he can't see. I assumed he wouldn't be able to feel it. So no, just in case there's anybody out there. I mean, there are some people who have false eyes, but that's very much that's very much the exception. And yeah, don't poke people in the eye if they've got false eyes, because it would still be uncomfortable. I don't think. Oh yeah, I've just been reminded another thing that is one of the few things that makes me angry. Yes. My wife and I went swimming. People have a habit of assuming that anybody with a disability, this isn't blind specific, won't be married or have a partner. And the time that sticks out the most to me was when I went swimming. Yeah. And not long before I was about to propose to my wife, we went swimming, and the lifeguard made a point of coming up to us and saying how nice she thought it was that my wife took her brother out swimming and looked after him, because blind people can't be in relationships. But yeah, I'd forgotten about that and was reminded, and again annoyed. So thank you for that, wife. I think we had, yeah. I think yes, we had not. Yes, we had kissed in the pool, and the next question. This is a complicated question. Would I say that my sense of touch? I think you're saying, do I think I can build up an accurate image of something, a visual image, by touching it? And if that's what you're saying, I would say I don't think I can, because I don't have a visual image stored in my head. So, this is another blind people misapprehension that people have. Unless you have had sight and lost it, you can't tell what someone looks like by touching their face. People who have had sight and lost it sometimes can do that, because you can sort of equate certain textures and stuff with what things might look like. But for me and anyone who's had a lifetime sight condition, you just don't have those images as a mental reference. So there's nothing to compare the texture or shape to in a visual form. I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope it does. Who is next? Rich G says, I was curious as if you know who Tom Sullivan is. The name rings a bell, but I can't. Ah, if not, he was a blind Canadian musician who saved his daughter from drowning in a pool. No, I did not know who Tom Sullivan was. I will. And there's a decent movie about Tom's life called If You Could See What I Hear. I did not know about him, but thank you for the recommendation. I will put him in the short list of topics to write about for my first channeled script. So thank you. I'll give you a credit in the script if I remember. Thank you. Well, sorry. Who's that from? Thank you for the. Thank you, Nicodemus Perez, for the hair advice. My wife's best friend. Who shall I name her? Sarah Thomas. Okay, I didn't know who. If your name's in the chat, then you can't hide. Is now obsolete or not obsolete? Now would make more sense. It would. I'm going to assume she meant now. Yes. I used to have. In fact, I've got one in the drawer over there, and I demoed it on the channel. The Franklin Spellmaster, which I mean, they make them for sighted people as well. It's just a dictionary that you type into, but they made a speaking version, and I used that all the way through junior school and senior school. You have a bash at spelling the word. It works out what word you mean, and then we'll use a Stephen Hawking style voice to read out how to spell it to you. And it'll also give you like dictionary definitions and synonyms and all that as well. But yeah, I'd say that. But obviously now it's all just in here. Good question. Spirit Wolf, welcome back. Favorite movie / series / theatre. I'm not a theatre person really. What's my favorite movie? Growing up, I loved Top Gun. I watched Top Gun probably 100 times. The Matrix, the original, not the other ones. Madagascar. Love Madagascar. I'm looking for a kids movie. Series is nothing unsurprising. Friends, Scrubs. There's an old BBC show called New Tricks. It's like a detective series with I did say Friends, yeah. with retired policeman. That was good. Big Bang Theory. I still need to watch the last series of Big Bang Theory, but me and my housemates used to gather together every Thursday, I think it came out in the UK, and watch it, like the first broadcasts in the UK. Sefe Rothgoff. Sefe Rothgoff. Oddly specific question. I'm a licensee myself. What was the process of being a publican like, given that experience of becoming a publican, like, bearing in mind that a large part of licensing law is down to visually verifying identification. Obviously that's a challenge. You can tell-ish by voice and such, but I never worked a busy bar on my own. Because who wants to work a busy bar? So if there's anybody I wasn't sure about, I'd refer them to whomever I was working with. Occasionally we'd have door staff, but not often. I think if I was recommending the publican life to a blind person, I would suggest a ID checking doorman, just because it makes it so much easier. But yeah, that's probably the hardest part of blind publicaning, is the ID issue. And Sarah Thomas again. Have I ever tried to draw myself? I have not, no. Again, that kind of refers back to not having a visual image at all. So to draw what I don't look like anything to me, if that makes sense. Not in the visual spectrum. So I have drawn some things in the past. There's a thing called, I don't know whether it's still called it, but it used to be called German film, and it was actually designed. It's basically just really thin acetate, and you put it on a rubber mat, and you draw on it with metal tipped pens. It's originally for doing tactile graphs and things for geometry, but some people have made some really crazy drawings, different textured drawings on it. So I used to dabble with that when I was at school. But for art, I tended to make more 3D things. For art projects, I would make stuff out of wire and texture-based stuff. So I made a plant once by wrapping card for the stem, thick cardboard around a thick metal wire, bending it into shape, then gluing over it, and then painting it with textured paint so it felt like the bark of a tree. And then did the same sort of thing with leaves, making thin wire, like leaf skeletons out of wire, and then covering those in different textured stuff so they felt like different leaves. But yeah, any artistic endeavors have tended to be in 3D rather than drawn. Oh, Charles Bush has a question all the way from, yes. Okay. Hi, Charles. Charles was my neighbor 30 years ago, probably. And Charles says, with the art of modern technology, with modern technology, do you think the art of reading Braille will be lost? Yeah, probably. Eventually. It is already being phased out. The other day we were at Asda, and they had Braille on something, but it was printed Braille. So they had the dots printed, but they weren't raised in any way. So if you can read Braille by looking at the dots, you were fine. But that's those people are few and far between for obvious reasons. But yeah, I think I think probably Braille has 20 or 30 years before they stop teaching it. And then obviously it'll die out several generations down the line. Die out in a meaningful sense. I mean, where it's regularly used. But I think it's a shame. I think it should be, for the very fact that it is low tech. It should be kept around, but I don't think it will. No. Nikki OGBB again. Is there anything that scares me? I don't like rats. I really don't like rats, and I blame James Herbert. I read both The Lair and The Rats when I was probably too young to read The Lair and The Rats, and no, never been a fan of rats since. But I think that's probably it. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that I have an actual phobia of. Antisocial. Antisocial says, what's the worst food you've ever eaten and where did you get it? Dog food from the fridge by accident. I told this in a Brain Blaze a while ago, I think, but I came home after St. Patrick's Day and I had some Chinese food. I think it was Chinese food, actually. I think it was a curry in a container in the fridge and some dog food in the fridge. And I grabbed, in my Guinness-induced stupor, the wrong container and took a big forkful of the dog food. So, yeah, that's the worst food I've ever eaten. And it was surprisingly close to home. Who is next? Chris Mind. The most important question, how do you take your coffee? Regularly. This is my work coffee cup, and that's my hand for scale. With milk and 1 sugar. This has more than 1 sugar in it though, because it's 3 cups of coffee. And I think it's now gone. But yes, with milk and sugar, but not too much milk. And not too much sugar. Who's next? Okay. Let's see. Do you want me to read that out? Sarah has sent us another question privately. It says, can you draw a smiley face? And if you can, why can't you have a crack at drawing yourself with proportions, etc.? Apparently, it feels that my explanation was a cop-out. I don't know. I probably can draw a smiley face, yes. But it wouldn't be... It would be the shape... I don't know. No, I'm not drawing me. Unless Sarah wants to commission it. Yeah. If this video gets 200 likes, I'll do a self-portrait and post it on Twitter. 200 likes or 10 super chats. Roberto Toledo Follett says, fastest I've personally, or fastest I've ever driven, I think. Definitely not 86 miles an hour, because that would be illegal. And in many ways, definitely not in a Vauxhall Astra. I hope that wasn't helpful. I did have a code. I had somebody sat next. I mean, if I had done that, I would have had someone sat next to me. Ducking Retro. Check out Mark's YouTube. There's links all over the Only in the UK videos. He says, what was the best book you've read in Braille and what was the best book you didn't read? So audio book, I guess. I think I read The Magician's Nephew, Narnia book in Braille. That was pretty good. And I read The Prisoner of Azkaban in Braille and the first Lord of the Rings book. I think probably The Magician's Nephew is the best book I've read in Braille. Best audio book. Any of the Dark Tower books by Stephen King, or The Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul by Douglas Adams. Next. Yeah. They say 200. 200 likes or 10 super chats. Well, I don't, so no. Rich G says, Rich G says, I think all my questions have been music based. If you were to start or join a band again, would you do metal or something different? I don't know. See, I sort of originally jazz and blues trained and went into metal because it was the music I liked. I think probably yes, rock or metal would be where I would go, just because it's the styles I'm most familiar with. I wouldn't mind doing maybe I wouldn't mind maybe doing some freestyle jazz or something, an open mic night, but it's probably not something I would dedicate a band to. So yes, I would probably do metal again, or rock, or that area. Doesn't count if Sarah said. Nikki, OGB, and Sarah have sent super chats. So 8, and I'll have to do a self-portrait. I'm not doing it now though. Pardon? Thank you for my super chats. I should have set a money goal rather than a number of super chats, should I? You can't do a penny. I did say thank you, yeah. You shouldn't feel that, no one should feel that they need to buy anything for the chat for the channel, unless they want to see me do a self-portrait, of course. Then they will have to. Sefri Rothgoff says, how do I feel about pranks, and what are the best pranks I've pulled and had pulled on me? Yeah, pranks are good, time and place, but what's the best prank? Oh, we convinced a friend of mine that you had to have a passport to go to the Isle of Wight when we went on tour, and he hid in the back of the van because he didn't have his passport with him. So that was quite good. We got to the ferry terminal and said, hey, insert name here, did you bring your passport? And he said, no, I didn't need a passport to go to the Isle of Wight. And we had brought our passports because we were young and thought we'd probably get ID'd. So, yeah, you do? And he said, well, I haven't got it. So you have to get in the back of the van. And yeah, he travelled across from Portsmouth to the Isle of Wight in the back of the van, hiding behind the drums and the PA system until we got there. And then we told him, and he was furious. What was the best? Yeah, I'm just trying to think of pranks that have been pulled on me. My little brother and I used to prank each other all the time, and I think he'd do stuff like put drawing pins on my desk chair, and yeah, that's probably the most effective simple prank, is to put drawing pins on the desk chair of a blind person. Although I don't condone such behaviour, obviously. If I think of a better one, I'll tell you, but for now, I'm sticking with that one. Okay, thank you to Tanya White. Yep. Spirit Wolf. Nikki OGBB again. Stop it. And Mark Ducking Retro. Snow Snake 666. And Nikki OGBB again for your super chats. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Thank you, Snowsnake 6666 wants a real effort, and Nikki OGBB helping to support the arts. Thank you, everybody. I really do appreciate it, and I will do it. I just wish I'd aimed higher. Yes, well, you have 2 more, but 2 more to get. They have to be different people as well. 10 different people is what I meant. Yeah. Arrow. Sorry. With the Not a Ninja says, with the advancements in neuroscience and improvements in cameras, do you think these can be integrated to help cure blindness? Yes, I do, in that it can already be done. Whether or not I personally would have a camera placed in my eye socket, I don't know whether I would. Unfortunately, a lot of this technology is Elon funded, so no. But I don't know whether I would go for it. But yes, I think certainly probably within 50 years, most sight conditions will be curable. But as to whether or not I would do that, I don't know yet. Who's next? I don't know if you can hear that noise in the background, but that is Arrow. It's Bingo's dog whining. And okay, Sarah Thomas and Antisocial have done the 10 super chats. Thank you, everyone. So 11 super chats. I now have to do a attempt at a self-portrait. I'm not sure if I need to do this live or I have to live stream this apparently. Okay. No, I don't want to. My wife's asking me if I want to get Arrow, but I don't want to pander to that. Sarah Thomas asks, were there any worries you had about becoming a dad specifically because of blindness? Not really. I had small baby experience because I had two much younger brothers. So I already knew how to change a nappy and administer a bottle, etc. I mean, it's daunting as an idea, but I don't think that was anything specifically I was worried about. Yeah, I probably did more things to sort of prove that I could do them, but yeah, I don't think there's anything I was specifically worried about. I mean, I was worried, but not just a sort of general sense of worry rather than what if I can't insert problem here. Spirit Wolf says, have I ever gotten completely lost, buzzed out by myself? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. And how bad was it? It was quite bad at the time, or I thought it was, but I was coming home from the pub one night because there weren't any taxis, so I walked. And I just became completely disorientated and walked around for probably 2 hours but it turned out that when I found out where I was actually home. So that was, I had walked a very, very random, convoluted way, trying to find a landmark that I knew. But when I did find a landmark, it was 100 yards from my house. So it was stressful at the time, but nice to end up where I actually wanted to be. I'm going to have to get the horrible dog. Horrible dog. Nice dog. Oh. The camera is going crazy. Can you see me? Look at me. Bo. Sorry, everyone. So I'm doing the tracking hand gestures to try and make the camera work again. Are there any more questions whilst I mess around with the camera? Lots of super chats. Antisocial says. I think I'm currently at work doing some training. Should I turn up the training video that I'm 100% paying attention to, or should I carry on listening to this? I would carry on listening to this. It's probably more interesting. Right. Can you see me on the camera? There we go. There. We have tracking again. Sorry about that. How many people are watching? Does anyone know? If somebody can in the comments can pop that up, so we're not sure. Nikki OGBB, what do we say? This Nikki OGBB says, what are your dog's different personalities? This one, don't know really. She's quite scatty. Do you think she's bigger than the other dog? She's got typical little dog syndrome, I would say. She thinks she's all that and a bag of chips. It is true. Yeah, she's nice enough. She's snuggly, but when you take her out, she, yeah, she's got some anxiousness going on. This is awesome. Get off. She's a big fluffy idiot. And her name is Bo. And I promised you could see her. She loves me very much. Say hello to the people, Bo. Ah, she loves me too much. Sarah Thomas says, now that I've won, I'm out. Thank you for answering my questions. Fine, I will draw the picture. Thank you for the super chats, everyone. Snowsnake666 says, I have art from many. What's this from? Who's this from? Snowsnake666 asking if I will auction the drawing. Sure, why not? As merch? Okay, well, I want I want signed promises that you will all buy it. Sailor Z says, do I have a favorite fungus? Amanita muscaria is my favorite fungus. Oh, thank you to whoever put 33 people were watching. Okay, if anybody has any more questions, please do ask them. I'm trying to figure out a way to do a live stream drawing thing, but it shall be done. I may do it with 2 cameras. Bo, come and say hello to the people again. No. Thank you to those who have signed to say they will buy the merch. I will hold you to it. No, Bo doesn't want to come back. She's... Bo. Oh, she's coming. Come on, let me come. She's back. Don't lick my face. She is a shepherd labradoodle idiot. Whomever asked me what their personalities were like. She is like, if anybody who remembers 90s British TV, she reminds me of Tim Nice but Dim from Harry Enfield and Chums. She's lovely, very loyal and well-meaning, but yes, not smart. She's quite good at reading people though, and knowing if... Oh, thank you, Nikki, for the $10 for the dogs. We'll buy them something. We'll buy them. Thank you for hanging out with us. No problem. I've been reading all your comments on Brainblaze videos and other Simon videos and my videos for years. And it's nice to speak to you all in person. Susie, if you could be an animal for a day, what would you be? Probably a dog. Or an elephant. Or a polar bear. Yes, dog, elephant, or polar bear, depending on my mood. Right, guys, we are going to be here for another 10 minutes. So if you have any more questions, please get them in, and then we will decide who gets the pen. I should have brought it with me to the table. I don't even have mine in my pocket. But yeah, if you want to see why a dog or an elephant or a polar bear? I think polar bear probably because I was really into the His Dark Material series when it came out when I was a kid. Dogs are my favorite animals, so just to see what that would be like. And as an elephant, well, who wouldn't want to be the biggest mammal, the biggest in town, just to check that out, king of the jungle. Snow Snake 666. If given, sorry. To drift. If given a wide open space in a car with enough power, would you like to learn how to drift? Yes, I would. Spirit Wolf, what is your understanding of colors? I don't really have one. Like, I know that certain things are associated with different colors, like hot and red and cold and blue and stuff, but they're just word associations to me rather than visual associations. So I know you guys, yeah. I know that you guys have like that visual representation, but I don't have it really. I have tried using like different colored glasses, and some of them improve a little bit the sort of the shapes that I get in my light and dark perception. I think green was the best one for me, but it doesn't. It never made anything look actually different, just ever so slightly clearer, if that makes sense. I'm still not entirely sure why that is. But let's see. Oh. Antisocial. To stick with the animal theme, what do you think your spirit animal is? I think it would be a dog. Some sort of shepherd dog. Any more? A question from who, sorry? You, personally. This is a question from my wife, and she says, do you think you would ever have like a personal meetup, like a Dave Con or something? Yeah, maybe if we could find somewhere central, London or near London, and there were enough people from the UK who would go, potentially. I do hate London though. But it's the central, isn't it? My wife's saying up north is better than London. I do agree with that, but if you were trying to organise somewhere for everyone to get to, you're probably looking at London or nearabouts. Do I have any questions? My wife's saying, do I have any questions for you guys? I wonder, like, who's the furthest away? Oh, did anybody find me not through Simon's stuff? Like, just come across the channel through YouTube, or is everybody? Have I stolen everyone from the Whistleverse? Arrow, you can't do that on camera. It isn't central. What about Birmingham? It's in the middle and it's cheap. Everyone's from the Whistleverse. Does anyone have any more questions? Or shall we decide who the winner is? The Uncatchable Lizard. And getting up for work in Melbourne, Australia, I think I'm the furthest away. Cool. You probably are. I don't think you get much further away. Scotland. Fair enough. So, wife, who do you think asked the best question? Just asking for input. Quickly do a poll. I'm trying to remember. I think actually the best question is the Starfish's question about working with. That's okay. We can. Yes, I think that's the best question. Yeah. I'm going to go with the Starfish's question about the best thing. What's the best thing about having a visual impairment, so that they could help a kid in school? I think that's the winning question, and I shall attempt to reach out to the poster, and if I can't, I will pick another one of you guys. So keep an eye on the comments on here, on the actual video, because you can't go back into the chat once the video is closed. Sarah, who thinks Sarah should win? I see. No, Snow Snake 666. Sarah cannot win. She's she knows us both, so that wouldn't be fair. Yeah. So Starfish. Well, my wife's saying, doesn't the pen have a knife in it? But well, we should be contacting the parents of the starfish, and they can decide whether or not they want it. But 2 more minutes, guys, because we have to get Bingo up for school, and it's late. I assume it's late. I have no idea what time it is. 20 to 11. Blimey, saying there. Whilst we're waiting to see if there's any more questions, I just want to say thank you very much to everyone who came and catches up later, but everyone, especially everyone who stayed to the end, and especially anybody who super chatted. You didn't need to do that, except if you wanted me to draw something, then you did. That was non-optional. But I really appreciate it that people would actually pay to be here and watch me chat about random stuff. It's genuinely humbling. Were there any more questions? My wife's saying maybe she should do a Q&A and she could give away all my secrets. So were there any more questions? No problem, really. My pleasure. Bye. You gonna come say goodbye? Bye. Yes, I'm glad that it worked this time. Which chat did we end up on? The original one or a different one? Yeah. I know how to do it now, and I've set it so that the permissions for the camera and microphone are always on. Bye. Bye. You gonna say hello? Say goodbye? Say goodbye. Come on. There we go. Bo has come to say goodbye. Arrow is here to say goodbye. Don't lick my face. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. We'll do this again at some point. And once we've worked out how we're going to do the art thing, I will... Thanks, Mark. Mark says for 4,000 subscribers Q&A, Megan can do it and have me as the reaction cam. Oh, whilst there are still some people here, there will be a new Only in the UK out tomorrow, and we have Katie Watson from Decoding the Unknown as a special guest. She grew up in the UK and then moved to the States, so a little bit of different input there. But yeah, once again, thank you very much indeed. It's been a pleasure. Like, comment, and subscribe. I guess all of you probably have liked, commented, and subscribed already, but yes, if you wouldn't mind, just drop anything at all in the video comments once this chat closes, just as a gift to the algorithm. And yeah, we have some new stuff coming up soon, stuff we haven't done before, but I'm not going to spoil it because I can do a video about it. But yeah, it's been really great. I'm glad that this one worked properly and didn't keep dropping, and we shall see you again soon. Thank you again to my lovely wife for making everything possible, and good night.